see him no more. So you ain't gonna see Brian no more. That was just a sort of face-saving way, but they've got, obviously this is just the tip of the iceberg. Look, a lot of these journalists, I've been one since I was 20, I've been a professional journalist since I was 22, or 21, I guess, 22. They're fantasists. Some of them have the notion that, if they'd been smart enough to go to law school, they would have been in the vanguard of the civil rights movement. Remember, my generation is obsessed with the civil rights movement. And it's like Woodstock. They lie about being at Woodstock. They lie about being, marching with Martin and Selma. They're just liars. But they want to be part of the events that they cover. So that Brian obviously began to fantasize that he was somehow, the Chinook warrior of the year, when absolutely nothing happened to him. And I must say, I've had a very interesting journalist career. And if I claim to have been somewhere, I guarantee you I was there. So I was there when the Berlin Wall came down. I was in Russia when Chernobyl blew up. Stuff like that. You don't make this stuff up out of whole cloth and then hope you don't run into somebody like me who was actually there. And many times I have run into people who have claimed to have been at significant events at which I was fortunate enough to be present. And I know they weren't there, and I know they're not telling the truth. So this, I believe, is the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, he's gone. You ain't going to see him.
Listen, I agree, Michael. And what do you think? I mean, it's just obviously we probably will never know. But what goes on in the mind of a Brian Williams? I mean, this guy's making $10 million a year. He's #1 in the ratings.
Right.
But he has this long history of making stuff up. Screw the misremembering stuff. He's lied. He's made stuff up. Is it just like this insecurity thing, or is it he knows he's not a true investigative reporter like some of those in the past who ascended to the anchor chair? I mean, just in your opinion, what do you think makes a guy like him do what he did?
Well, I don't know him. I mean, he's one of the people I have not ever met, because I don't really know the television people that much. But as I say, they begin to inject themselves into the stories that they cover. Now, these anchors are not really reporters in the first place. Dan Rather actually was a good reporter. He made his bones by being a local Texas TV guy. I think he was TV, maybe it was radio, when Kennedy got assassinated. So he actually did something in order to put himself on the network radar. But most of them are just pretty faces. And Brian Williams was certainly a very handsome guy. And if you can, fake sincerity, as we say in Hollywood, you've got it made. So that's what they do for a living. But nobody just wants to be, the pretty girl at the front of the whorehouse. They want to actually be involved in the what's going on. So they make stuff up, and there's no one to say no to them. So they just eventually embellish their own stories, and every man is a hero to his valet. Every man is a hero to his dog. No man is a hero to his valet. So some guy said, "Hey, dude, I was in that helicopter, and you weren't on it," and that was the end of him. Social media nailed Brian Williams. That's going to be a very, very important scalp down the road.
Yeah, it's amazing. Think 15, 20 years ago, or even 5 or 6 years ago, social media impact on this type of thing would have been small 5 years ago and invisible 20 years ago. But
Right.
just the number of memes themselves.
Exactly.
I mean, I think IJ Review did an article a week ago that had the top 10 memes with Brian Williams' face photoshopped into various scenes around history. I mean, I would think at this point there's probably 250 different awesome memes shredding that whole thing.
Yeah, well, he's done. Like I said, how do you bring him back now? He's a figure of fun. The internet is forever. Every dumb thing we say or write is on there, in eternity. So his reputation has been ruined, and he did it to himself. Obviously, you feel sorry for him, but you don't feel that sorry for him when he was making, what you said, 10, 11 million bucks a year to do nothing effectively. So tough. But our side has this tool, which is of course why the FCC wants to regulate it and wreck it. But we have this tool so that we can do things like what I did today, which is take Fahrenholt's piece in the Washington Post and rip it to pieces and show you at every spot where he's put a dog whistle or some kind of lefty trope and what the entire point of the piece was. I also did it last week with the LA Times piece about the Latina girl that got shot by the cops and killed in Denver. The whole LA Times piece was wall-to-wall cultural Marxism from the first sentence to the last sentence. And I literally went through the entire piece, as Joe Biden would say, literally went through the entire piece and showed you the buzzwords, the dog whistles, the way that they think. And this is something that all of our candidates are going to have to learn fast. Walker's going to have to learn it. Cruz is going to have to learn it. Don't trust these people. Don't assume they're going to be nice to you. Don't assume they're going to play fair with you. They're there to get you. So our side has got to be ready to get them back. Otherwise, we will suffer what Sarah Palin did. She wasn't prepared for it. McCain left her to hang out to dry. And we lost a pretty good woman, I think. But they wrecked her career. Walker needs to be, and Cruz and the others that are going to run, need to be on top of this, effective immediately. They're starting this fight now, so let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Although one of our, well, I know that there's at least one Facebook friend of mine, when you mentioned Sarah Palin, her head just exploded.
Okay, why?
So, Michael, as we're winding down. We've just got a few minutes with you here.
Sure.
I'm trying to think whether or not I want to talk to you about your espionage series of books, or that it's been about a year and a half since you had a book drop, or maybe your nonfiction stuff like the Rules for Radical Conservatives or the movie screenplay that you're working on. There's so much to talk to you about, so maybe you can tell us along one of those three topics what you're thinking about and working on.
Sure. Well, I've got a new book coming out in June, which is called The Devil's Pleasure Palace. It'll be out from Encounter Books, and it's a real departure from my usual cheap sex and violence thriller stuff. It's actually a book of philosophy and religion, so don't start running in all directions. But it's about God and Satan. It's about Milton's Paradise Lost and Goethe's Faust. It uses literature and the story of the hero as a way to explain contemporary politics. The Devil's Pleasure Palace is actually the title of a youthful opera by Schubert that he never finished. But I've always liked that as a title, and it's an examination of the Frankfurt School of German Marxist philosophers who fled Hitler and came to America and decided to poison America since they couldn't poison Germany. So they did. And we've been dealing with that kind of cultural Marxism, political correctness, etc. And I'm using literature and some Christian dogma to explain why they were so bad and how to fight them. So I know that's an incredible sales pitch, but it's actually more, as Mark Twain said about Wagner's music, it's better than it sounds. And this book is actually more interesting than I've made it seem, but that's coming out in June.
Yeah, because we just went from cultural Marxism to Schubert. And I'm still imagining what the Devil's Pleasure Palace would look like, and whether I should get a sign on my door with that.
I might like.
Well, no, I think I discovered that it's a place downtown in Hollywood, and you got to know the guy that will let you. Anyway, we'll talk about that when I get back to California.
So obviously, this is nonfiction. You want to tell us about the movie that you're working on? Yeah,
we're doing a movie for the Irish Film Board, which is about. It's a wonderful revenge thriller. I say it's like Gangs of New York meets The Field with the last act of Straw Dogs. It's based on a true story of a whole family that was murdered one night in County Mayo, which is 2 counties away from me here. And the Brits came in and hanged all the wrong guys. And it's the story of the Irish-speaking Irish, because this part of Ireland for many years didn't speak English. When my grandmother came over, she didn't speak English. So we're here in the middle of the Gaeltacht, as they call it. But it's about revenge, and one kid who actually survived the murder of his entire family. He goes to New York and becomes a great gangster at the turn of the century, and then he comes back to Ireland to sort things out, which she does. And it's, yeah, it's pretty, but it'll be tons of fun for the whole family. Hey, go see 50 Shades of Grey, then go see this one. It'll be fun.
There we
Now,
go.
being that it's for the Irish Film Board, is that just going to be released there, or will that be available here too?
No, they're underwriting the writing of the script and the initial production stages of it, as they do for a lot of films. Most recently, Calvary with Brendan Gleeson, if you saw, that was a wonderful movie. But we want this to be more of an international production, so when the script's done and it's all ready to go, I'll give it to my agents in Hollywood, and hopefully we'll get some co-producers in LA, and we'll get maybe a studio involved, and try to make it a bigger movie than just a small Irish movie. But it really is a very stimulating subject, and we've been working on it for about 3 or 4 years. So we were thrilled when the film board came through with financing last year, and that's why I'm here typing away.
That's
I'm
awesome.
talking to you right now.
Yeah. Listen, Michael, but then that would be redundant because there's 3 of us.
Yeah.
When you come back to California, as in where Housem lives, you got to come back on. We have really enjoyed having you on the show.
Sure, I'm happy to talk to you guys from here anytime. I'll be here for quite a while, I think. There's several things going on. Most of my work is on this side of the puddle at the moment, but anytime.
Well, our list is very long, so I mean, even if you wanted to come on, you'd be way far down it. I'm kidding, but anyway, thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Mike and Mike. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Enjoy a. Now, let me ask. This is a really important question. Since you're there, are you Guinness or what's your stout of choice?
There we go.
Okay,
yeah.
Murphy's.
There's 2 answers to this question. One is Murphy's, but the other is at my local pub, which is just up the road and it's conveniently open. It's only 8:30, so things don't even get started there until about 10. They brew their own. It's called the Roadhouse, and it's wonderful. So I drink their version of what we call a red beer in Ireland, which is like Smithwick's. So
Yeah. I've had it.
Murphy Stout and real Smithwick's or Burn Red, and it's all good. So.
Smithwick's is good. I would go with Murphy's over Guinness, by the way. Anyway, Michael, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, my pleasure, guys. Have a good evening or a good day. What time is it in California? Oh, it's noon. Have a good lunch. There you go.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Walsh. You have a good night.
Yeah. Right, you too. Bye.
Yeah, so Diane just commented that Diane Strain, Mike.
Right.
She just commented, great guest, deep thinker, but we probably will need Cliff Notes.
And isn't that, listen, as much as you and I love hearing ourselves, which is why we always go to Spreaker and listen at least once to the show, just to hear ourselves talk. How fun is it to have people like that on?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've actually been, the guy is just unbelievably busy. So he and I have been, it's funny, when I pulled up the Facebook thread back and forth, he and I have been talking since before our show launched about having him come on.
Guy's got a lot of balls in the air, but I just, you think sometimes, I mean, as awesome as you and I are, the awesome people that we have on is even better.
Yeah, and it's funny. A couple of months ago, it was back in like September maybe, he was speaking at a thing in Los Angeles. A bunch of my friends put on that was a media-related conservative event. He was one of the speakers. I had my 2 kids, and he was up there speaking. And my number 4, who's probably the smartest of my 5 kids, said, "Papa, we don't understand anything he's saying," because it was just brilliant. But then afterwards, I introduced him. I said, "Girls, this is my friend Michael Walsh." He dropped down on his knees, and he was like, "Well, hi, girls. Thanks for listening to my talk." It was so cute. All right, folks. Well, we are just about out of time for this half hour. Please hold on. We've got another 30 minutes left. You have been listening to The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Housem. We'll be right back. Thanks.
The This is Lachlan Marquet of the Washington Free Beacon, and you are listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.